What is up, everyone? It's Peyton here, and it's been a while since I've uploaded. I'm very sorry about that. I have a how to clean reptiles, food, bowls, video filmed. I don't know if I'm gonna upload that because it was kind of long and I don't know how good the camera angles are, but yeah. So, what is up, everyone? Peyton here. Hope you guys are doing great. Today I'm going to be ranking my top 10 defunct roller coasters. Now, these aren't just like top 10 of all the defunct. They are all of the defunct roller coasters I've been on that have ceased operation. Now, before we get into the video, I would like to give a honorable mention to Hades, the roller coaster at Mount Olympus, because it did it did get the new name Hades 360, and it got the new loop and the new trains. So I don't know if that counts as a new credit. I don't really think it does, because you're just adding to the ride and just kind of changing it. So that's why it's not in the list of defunct rides, or roller coasters, sorry. But, I figured I'd just bring it up. Sorry. Figured I'd just bring it up. Ervol's spent some defunct rides I've ridden, like the Shrek ride at Universal Studios. That's gone, and I rode that. But now we shall get into the top 10 defunct roller coasters. Number 10 is Miner Mike at Knuckleheads Bowling. And I think it's like an arcade. It's got food and stuff. Knuckleheads was wonderful as a child. My family and I, we used to go up to the Dells a whole bunch back when we lived in the great state of Wisconsin. Now we're here in Florida. But we went to Knuckleheads a fair amount of times, and they had like a circle. They had a ride we called the Circle Ride. They had a ride called the Tornado. Then they had what we called the Up Down Ride, which is I think it's like a spring hill. That's the model of it. But another one is Wild Surge at Busch Gardens. But so it had those three rides, but it also had Miner Mike, which has been replaced, but we'll get into that soon. So Miner Mike is a single helix wisdom rides with a booster wheel lift hill. So, it's not that impressive. On RCDB, it's listed as a family coaster, but I honestly think it should be a kiddie coaster because it kind of is. But it had, wide seat. It was kind of like a bench seat. The lap bar was really big. Really defined, ratchety lap bar. And can you tell I'm a coaster nerd? It was a big, bulky lap bar, which is probably standard on Miner Mikes. But it opened on March 31st, 2007, and closed down on April 13th, 2023. So opened March 31st, March 31st, 2007, closed on April 13th, 2023. This has since been replaced with another family coaster, and I forgot when it was, but it's basically the same thing practically. It's just a family coaster, and that one opened on November 17th, 2023. So that, just 7 months after Miner Mike closed, basically. 7 months and 4 days after Miner Mike. So it's a Miner Mike, so that's why it's at number 10. But I've been on it 5 times. It's a good ride, but it's not the best, That's why I said number 10. I honestly contemplated putting Mean Streak, another roller coaster, on this list at number 10 for reasons you're going to see soon. Number 9 is SandSerpent at Busch Gardens, Tampa, a wild mouse I believe it was a Mack Rides Wild Mouse, not quite sure, but a wild mouse nevertheless. Now, my family kind of thought it was more cool than I did. As a coaster nerd, I'm like, oh, it's a wild mouse. But the way it looks like you're going to go off the track, I guess, is what they said. But, again, not sure who made it, but I have 2 rides on it, and it closed down recently. I will put a lot of the stats down in the description below. But, again, just a wild mouse, 2 rides, nothing standard. One and done, Number 8 is Opa, a Zamperla spinning roller coaster. I only had 1 or 2 rides on it. It was a pretty good ride. It's number 8 because it's a spinning wild mouse made by Zamperla, and honestly, Opa was more fun than SandSerpent. It goes 29 miles an hour, height of 42 feet. Forgot when it opened, forgot when it closed. But I know I only had 2 rides or so on it, so it was a good ride. But, yeah. Number 7 is Mean Streak. And honestly, in an earlier making of this video, I had it at number 5. But the thing is, this ride is so rough. They used to sell Tylenol at the ride. It opened in August 1991, had a height of 161 feet, a track length of 5,427 feet. It was made by Ding Corporation, I believe. Again, all the stats will be in the description below. But Mean Streak, it was just too rough. I mean, I don't know why I had... Oh, yeah, it was only because of the layout that I had Mean Streak at number 5. Because it was a okay layout. Nothing to shout at. And that's at Cedar Point. And there will be more Cedar Point rides. I think there's 2 more. Yeah, there's 2 more. Number 6 is Hellcat, which was actually renamed Avalanche towards the end of its surface life. So it was at Timber Falls, another place in the Dells, and it was an S&S wooden coaster. It was only 88 feet high with its 55 miles an hour. Drop angle was 61 degrees. Not too much of a remarkable ride, if you know what I mean. Now, this one wasn't as rough as Mean Streak, and it was an okay ride the 2 times I got to go on it, but I will say the operations were absolute jack shit on that ride. They were just awful. You'd be waiting in the station for damn near 6 minutes because they wanted to fill every seat on the train. So, that's number 6. Number 5 is Gwazi at Busch Gardens. It closed down in 2015. I believe it opened in 99. Now, this was changed to Iron Gwazi in 2022 is when it opened. And I believe Mean Streak turned into Steel Vengeance. So, if that doesn't tell you how bad these rides were before, nothing will, So, this, I believe, was a GCI. Not sure, I'll check. I do know a lot about roller coasters, just not these 10, because, well, most of them aren't really remarkable, I know a lot about the good ones, but the unremarkable ones like this, yes, it is top 5, but again, I haven't, this is defunct roller coasters. For a top 5, it's pretty good. But, the layout was okay. Just twists and turns. The only reason it's down here is honestly because it wasn't too bad when I rode it. The roughness really wasn't there. But I think I got on this 2 years before it closed. So that makes sense. Now, I doubt it changed any in 2 years. But, hey, you got to make way for the new by closing down the old. Number 4. This is where we're starting to get to the, better rides. Number 4 is Scorpion, a Schwarzkopf looping roller coaster, 80 feet high with a 45 or 65 foot drop. Only 40 miles an hour, so 1 inversion, which is a vertical loop. Really good first looping roller coaster for kids. I didn't find it to be too intense, honestly. It opened on May 16th, 1980, and I forgot when it closed down. But it was, it was a smooth ride. It was not, um, the most remarkable ride. But I rode it in 2013 or 2014 and never got to ride it again. So closed down in 2023, I believe. So, almost 10 years without riding it. So it could have gone downhill a bit more. But the other thing is, it's being increasingly harder to find replacement parts for Schwarzkopfs because Schwarzkopf is out of manufacture. Yeah, they're done. The business is closed. Number 3. This is kind of interesting because I feel like number 3 and number 2 can easily be swapped. But and Scorpion I got one ride on. That's it, one ride. And it was in 2013 or 2014, not quite sure. It was one of those. So, if it was 2013, it went a full 10 years till it closed, but 2014, a whole 9 years. Anyway, number 3 is Kumba at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Now, this closed on August 2nd, 2026, and this one had a height of 143 feet, a drop of 135 feet, 7 inversions, 65 miles an hour, 2 minutes and 54 seconds, and the track length was nice too. It's a B&M sit-down roller coaster, and I only had 5 rides on this. I got 3 in a row one time, and then I got, 1-1 on separate days. So the first time I rode it was really good. The second time, it was kind of headbangy, but it was okay. Again, I rode it for the first time in 2014, so, there's that. And then the second time was in the 2020s. But still a decent ride, it was, everyone loves it. The layout is tier. You have great inversions like Cobra Roll, the vertical loops, all that, all really good. It's just, if you're kind of taller, or average height, I guess, you're going to be headbanged around a bit. But honestly, I wish I would have been able to get a last ride on that, but I was denied that request. So, Kumba, a decent, really good ride. If it was still open, I'd ride it again just because the layout's good. The thing with the wooden coasters above is the layouts are kind of unremarkable and rough. So it's, that's why they're kind of ranked higher on the list. Number 2, and again, this can be really interchangeable because of the roughness. Whatever, is Wicked Twister at Cedar Point. The only reason it's one spot above Kumba is because it was glass smooth when I rode it in 2015, yeah, sorry. It's a Cedar Point's a intimate impulse roller coaster, and it was 206 feet high, and it was a really good ride, 72 miles an hour or so. Not too long of a ride. The operations on that one were not that good. It was kind of a long wait in the seats. I will say with these intimate impulses, as a kid, they were kind of hard to get into because of how high the seats were in the air. It's like, when I rode a V2 vertical velocity at Great America, I had to ask for the little step stool to get up in the seat because I wasn't that tall as a kid. I was tall enough to ride, but just, them and the wing coaster seats and the dive coaster seats, really high in the air, but the impulses are much higher. So again, Cedar Point. And number 1 is another Cedar Point roller coaster. Top Thrill Dragster, 2,800 feet of track, 20 seconds, intimate, 420 feet high with a 400-foot drop, 120 miles an hour. Just incredible. The launch was nice and smooth. The whole ride was nice and smooth. I rode this on my 2015 Cedar Point trip. Only got one ride on it. And I literally got off saying, whoever made this, thank you. You know, because I was a coaster, junkie. I like riding roller coasters, obviously. But, like, back then, I didn't know as much. I was just happy to be at Cedar Point. I knew all the rides, but, I didn't know the intricate details of the roller coasters. But Top Thrill Dragster opened in 2003 and closed down like 2021 after like a bolt or something hit a woman in line. And now it's Top Thrill 2, which is a completely different ride. That's why it's on this list, to be honest. It's a Zamperla something. But yeah, those are my top 10 defunct roller coasters. If you want me to rank all my operating roller coasters, I will. Just let me know. That's going to be a long list. I think I've got between 42 and 52 credits, which is awful, but, I don't, I don't have buku cash to be going to those amusement parks every time, But, at some rides, I've got really long, or, like, really good rides on them. Like, Zeus, I have 15. Raging Bull, I have 19. So it's whatever, Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.